Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1939 drama comedy Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not used to that rousing show of support. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie in this book, the 1001 movies you must see before you die. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is the movie which I have previously stated is the film that made me fall in love with films. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor Lead James Stewart, Best Actor Support Harry Carey, Best Actor Support Claude Rains, Best Director Frank Capra. It won Best Writing Original Story. It was nominated for Best Writing Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Sound Recording, Best Film Editing, and Best Musical Score. Now it stars James Stewart as Jefferson Smith, Jean Arthur as Clarissa Saunders, though in this film they mostly call her Saunders. James Stewart will call her Clarissa as a sign of endearment, and James Stewart's mother will call her Clarissa also as a sign of endearment. Claude Rains as Senator Joseph Payne, Thomas Mitchell as Diz Moore, and Edward Arnold as Jim Taylor. Harry Carey as President of the Senate. Now, I'm not 100% sure why Harry Carey was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in this film. He's not in it that often, and when he is in it, he's mostly laughing at things that James Stewart says. I didn't think he gave a riveting performance, so I'm not sure what happened there. Even though he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and so was Claude Rains, it went to Thomas Mitchell that year, but not for this movie, but for Stagecoach. Now, I have seen Stagecoach, and I think that Claude Rains was robbed because his performance in this film is second only to James Stewart, but he could have led this movie. He is so good. He is such a moving actor. You're on the edge of your seat. You're there for everything he says. Gripping. He is just a gripping actor in this film. Now, I also think James Stewart was robbed, even though the person who won it that year was Robert Donat for Goodbye Mr. Chips. I've seen Robert Donat in one movie, and that was the 39 Steps. I've never seen Mr. Chips, Goodbye Mr. Chips, but I think that James Stewart in this film is one of the greatest acting performances I've ever seen in my life. It is riveting. He is just so great at delivering lines, so great at showing emotion. The young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed person he is in the beginning, and then at the end, the man with the hoarse throat. He's all disheveled, he's tired, he's grown weary of the world and weary of how things work. It's just a marvelous transformation, and he is so amazing at what he does, and I think he was robbed. He should have won Best Actor that year. Now, this is considered to be one of the most important films ever made for its statement about democracy, corruption, and civic responsibility. It has a powerful defense of democracy. It celebrates the ideals of American democracy while also exposing how easily they can be corrupted. Jefferson Smith represents the ordinary citizen who believes in doing the right thing, even when the system is stacked against him. And boy, does it get stacked against him in this film. It has the iconic filibuster scene, one of the most famous scenes in film history. It dramatizes the idea that one determined individual can stand up to powerful institutions. Now, I remember like a year or so ago when Hakeem Jeffries broke the world record for filibustering. They talked about this movie all the time. I didn't watch the filibuster, but like the news and everyone around it talked about this film because of how iconic the filibuster scene is. Now, Hakeem Jeffries' filibuster really did nothing, to be honest. It accomplished nothing, but it's still slated in history, I guess. Now, this is a commentary of political corruption. It critiques political machines, media manipulation, and backroom deals. It is bold and even controversial for the 1930s, especially 1939. It has a star-making performance by James Stewart. He became a major star largely due to this role. His portrayal of the earnest, idealistic outsider remains one of the defining performances of classic Hollywood. also has an enduring cultural influence. The film shaped how Americans think about politics and civic duty. It often references when discussing whistleblowers, government reform, and the idea of one person making a difference. Now, when this film opens up, we have a senator who has passed away, and they need to find a replacement for him. But the political machine of Jim Taylor and his senator, one of his senators from his state, Joseph Payne, they have this dam that they want to put up in Willow Creek that is like basically graft. It's going to make them financially rich, and they need another senator who will not look into this bill that they're trying to pass with Willow Creek Dam, who's just going to kind of do what they want. Some buffoon who is not going to ask any questions and is just going to be there for the ride. Now, they have a hard time finding this person until the children of, I think he's like a governor or something, suggest that they hire Jefferson Smith as their new senator because he is a member of a boys' camp and he put out a big fire. He became a local hero. There's thousands of boys who are involved in his camp, and they have thousands of parents who will love to have him as a senator. And he can quote Jefferson. He can quote Washington. He knows a lot about those type of political figures. And he's idealistic. He's bright-eyed. He's bushy-tailed. When he gets to Washington, he's going to have rose-colored glasses about everything that's going on. So they think that he's the one who should do it. Now, there's some pushback on this, but eventually it is agreed that he will be the next senator. Now, while he's giving his acceptance speech, we learn that Senator Joseph Payne actually knew his father really well. They worked together, they were friends together, and this will be important later because Joseph Payne starts thinking of him as like a son and as a son figure, and makes it very hard for him to do mean and terrible things to Jefferson Smith, which is going to be a problem. So Saunders, who is played by Jean Arthur, is kind of the person who is put in charge of Jefferson Smith. Now, when he first gets to Washington, he is supposed to go in a car and go up to his office, but he kind of wanders away after he sees the Capitol Dome. It's just staring at him in the face. He's looking at the Capitol Dome. He's seen freedom. He's seen the Constitution. He's seen America. He's seen everything that he loves about his country and about where he's from, and he just walks towards the Capitol Dome. And as he's walking towards it, he gets into a tour bus and he tours like the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial and all that big stuff that you would see if you were in Washington. Now, eventually he shows up and he finds Saunders and he introduces himself to her. Now, she thinks that he's just someone who's there. He's just going to be corrupt like everyone else, and he's kind of just there as a stooge, and he's just supposed to do what he's told, and she doesn't really take him seriously, and she doesn't take this whole thing seriously. So the media is kind of pushing her like, we need to get him out and we need to take photos of him and all this stuff. And she thinks it's a big laugh. So she says, okay, you can do that. So they take him out to take these photos, and they get him like doing these like smoke signals and stuff like he would at the boys camp. And they have him like with his nose up like this. And they have the headline like, this is what he thinks about the government and stuff like that. And then a really weird part, probably the weirdest part of this entire movie to me, is in the beginning, Jefferson Smith is painted as this really all shucks kind of guy. He's very mild-mannered. Like I said, he's part of a boys' club. Well, after this happened, he goes on a punching spree, and he just starts punching all of the local newspaper people. And he just starts like whacking away at them, just punching them in the face. Until one of them gets him into like this bar where all the other newspaper guys are, and Dismore ends up telling him that you're just a stooge, like you're just here to do what everyone wants you to do. You're not no one's going to take you seriously. So Jefferson Smith takes this to heart, and he believes that no one's going to take him seriously. So he goes up to Saunders and he says, "What can I do?" And they decide that he's going to write a bill. Now, Saunders doesn't believe it's actually going to happen. She has her reservations because of what actually goes into writing a bill. But he wants to make a boys' camp, and he wants to do it in his hometown, and he wants to do it on Willet Creek, which is a problem because Willet Creek is where the dam was going to go that Joseph Payne was building, that was going to build for all this graft. So Saunders says, have you talked to Joseph Payne about this? And he says, no, like, why would I have to do that? So the next day, he ends up going into the Senate and offering up this bill to build this boys' camp. And when Payne hears about this, he just, Payne and Taylor hear about this. They know that they have to put a lid on it somehow, that they have to stop him from trying to get this bill through because it's going to ruin everything that they're doing. So Joseph Payne talks to him and he says, look, like, there's this, we're trying to build this dam, and we need you to not try to build your boys' club here. And Thomas, like Jim Taylor wants this done. He basically learns, James Stewart's character, Jefferson Smith, basically learns that Joseph Payne just does whatever Jim Taylor wants him to do because Jim Taylor helps him get elected every 2 years, senators 2 years. So he gets elected every 2 years for like the next 20 years, and as long as he does what he's told, he keeps getting reelected. And he no longer, he started off, when he first started off, he might have had good intentions where he wanted to make a difference and he wanted to do good things in life, but he can't do good things for his city, for his state, if he doesn't keep getting reelected. So he basically says, I need to do what Jim Taylor tells me to do so I can keep getting reelected, so I can keep doing good things for my state, essentially. That's how he justifies it to himself. Now, Jefferson Smith is very taken aback by this. He can't believe what he's hearing, that his idol, that someone who his dad worked with and someone who his dad loved, would sell out like this, essentially. And very much pains him to hear this. And at first he decides he's just going to go away and he's just going to give up all this hooey and he's not going to pursue this anymore. He can't beat the Jim Taylors, he can't beat the Joseph Paynes, that this isn't going to work out, until he has a conversation with Saunders, and Saunders basically tells him to pull himself up by his bootstraps, that what are you going to tell the kids when you get home? Are you going to tell the kids that you quit? Are you going to tell the kids that this machine killed you? Are you going to tell the kids that it's useless to try to make a difference in this world, that one person can't make a difference? Are you going to tell these children that if you run into these hardships, that you just give up and that you don't try? And you need to set the example for them, and you need to show them that one person can make a difference, one person can fight for what he believes in, one person can stand up and say, I'm not going to take this anymore, basically. And this kind of fires Jefferson Smith up, and he decides, under no sort, they pretty much talk this over, and in no certain terms he decides he's going to do a filibuster, and he's going to try to talk long enough to get the word out to his state about what he's trying to do and what's going on, and he's going to try to hear back from everyone in his state that they want the boys' club, that they don't want the dam, and that they're rooting for him, and that they love what he's doing. Now, this is all, the filibuster scene is all riveting. It is some of the greatest acting you'll ever see in your entire life, both from James Stewart and from Claude Rains. I think James Stewart, when you think about this movie, you think about his performance and how great his performance is, and it truly is a masterful work of acting. But Claude Rains is toe-to-toe with him and just does such a great job. I've seen Claude Rains also in The Adventures of Robin Hood, and another movie where what was that movie he was in? Where he played, Here Comes Mr. Jordan. I've also seen him in. He's good in those movies, especially Robin Hood. But this film is just a whole other animal. He is just fantastic in this film. His range of acting, his ability to just get angry and deliver lines, it's just masterful. They're both just masterclass of acting for both of them in this film. So he's given his filibuster. The senators all hate him for it because they're trying to basically Claude Rains' character, Joseph Payne, says that James Stewart's character, sorry, Jefferson Smith, he originally bought the land that is going to be used for the boys club, and that he's going to try to make money off of this. So that he's the one who's actually doing something illegal, and the rest of the Senate believes him because they pay all these people to testify that this is what happened, even though it's not actually what happened. And this is part of the machine, the Jefferson machine, where they can pay people off to lie about things, and they can get what they want. And the small person it's impossible for them to fight against this because he doesn't have anyone in his corner saying that this isn't actually what happened. So the Senate is trying to get him basically kicked off the Senate, essentially. So James Stewart, Jefferson Smith is fighting to keep his position, but also fighting the corruptness and the machine of what's going on. So the problem is that at home, Jim Taylor owns basically the newspapers, and he's telling the newspapers not to print anything that's going on, not to print any positive stories about Jefferson Smith, to only print negative stories about Jefferson Smith. With the news and the newspapers and everything, every type of media and everything around billboards print negative stuff about him. If we see anyone, there's a point where the children, Jefferson Smith owns like a newspaper, a small newspaper that are ran by the children, and they try to get newspapers out there, and the Jim Taylor machine is running them off of the streets and smashing their wagons and harming all these children, and it's just no one is basically hearing from them at all. And Jim Taylor takes Senator Payne aside because you could tell that Joseph Payne is not happy with what's happening. He's feeling very bad about it. He has a lot of really big feelings for Jefferson Smith. He loves him like a son. And Jim Taylor basically says, look, if we don't win this, you might as well kill yourself because you'll never be a senator again. We're going to go to prison for graft and all this stuff. So at the end of the movie, they bring in all these letters that were supposedly written about what was going on, and they're all negative towards Jefferson Smith. It's been like 24 hours of filibustering after this, and he goes through all the letters. It's a very famous scene where he picks up the letters and he looks at Joseph Payne and he says, well, I guess this is just another lost cause. You know what lost causes are about. You used to fight for lost causes, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep filibustering. I'm going to keep talking. And then he just kind of passes out because he's so tired and he's can't go on anymore. And after this happens, I think Joseph Payne realizes what he's done, realizes that he is wrong. He sees this person that he loves, this person that he admires, this person he used to be. He used to be this person who fought for the little person and the lost causes and is uncorruptible and it is not corrupted. And he sees him falling on the ground and he rushes, and basically you hear a couple gunshots go off like he's trying to commit suicide because of the person he's become and because of who he could have been. And like all of that's gone now. And he ends up rushing out and he says, don't hurt that boy. Don't kick that boy off the Senate. It's me you need to do. I'm the one who's wrong. Everything he said was right. That's basically the entire movie, essentially. I might have missed some stuff here and there, but that's basically what I got from the movie. I love this movie. I love the acting, all the performances all around. Sometimes I could see how people might see Jean Arthur as a little bit annoying, but that scene in front of Lincoln, I think it's in front of Lincoln Memorial, where she talks about how he needs to do this for the kids and stick up for the kids and all that. I think she gives a fine performance. I think she really does a good job here. She wasn't nominated for anything. It's not the greatest acting performances I've ever seen, but I think she does a fine enough job here to. I think she was also in Only Angels Have Wings. I thought she was better in that movie. But I thought she was really good here. I thought she did a good job. All the bit players, all the smaller characters in this film are also really good. Great acting performances all around. Great cast. Fantastic directing. I love Frank Capra. Amazing cinematography. The scenes in the Senate are mesmerizing. I thought the camera work in there is great. This movie is actually really funny too. During the filibuster, James Stewart does a lot of off the cuff comedy bits, which are really funny. Where he the senators are looking away from him, and he throws like a book down on the desk, and they all look at him, and he said, "I just wanted to make sure you guys still had faces." And at one point, he takes out all this food and all this drink and stuff, and he's eating and drinking, and he says he's going to be there for a while. It's really funny. Like, James Stewart is just magnificent in this film. He's, like I said, one of the greatest acting performances you'll ever see, and I love it. It's a 10 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review another James Stewart film, actually his first Western he's ever done, and he did a lot of Westerns. It's called, I think, Destry Rides Again. So thank you. I hope you have a great day.